Yo, GD here to Limitless, and as you can see by the video title here today, this isn't going to be your typical league racing, hot lap or career mode video here today. It's going to be another one of those videos where I choose a topic and then ask you guys what you think, what you would recommend, if you agree with me, if you disagree, what would you do differently. It's going to be another one of those videos where I do enjoy making, but being honest on this topic, I wish I really wasn't having to make this kind of video, or on this topic at least, and I felt it was a very important one. It's very important to me. I know a lot of people are also very supportive and interested in league racing, but for me that's the reason why I actually play these games. It's not to just help you guys out in terms of setups and tips and trying to improve players, but for me, that I want to race. I'm a very competitive person. If you didn't know me personally, then I'm an extremely competitive person, and I just thrive on just going against people head to head, and it's what I do. That's what I want to do, playing these games. And before I really get on that topic, I'll just be talking about my general thoughts of the game so far in the first couple of weeks. I was going to make it last week, but I really wanted to just play this game a little bit more, just to get a really good feel of how I actually felt really overall. And I think it's enough time now to really just give my opinion on it. I'm not really going to go into too much detail because I know a lot of other YouTubers, a lot of other people have already given their thoughts on the game and the problems with it and the benefits as well. And I'll pretty much be saying pretty much almost exactly the same thing, because everyone's going to be saying the same thing. But my general thought really is just disappointing, to be honest. And the reason why I'm disappointed, without going into too much detail, is because this game had so much hype before going into it, and I was so pumped. And I'm not just alone. I know a load of other people, lots of other people were feeling exactly the same, and I really felt this was going to be the game where they could potentially really do a big step up. I wasn't expecting them to nail it because it was next gen. It's the first time on next gen. You got to leave a little bit of leadway for that. But starting off with the benefits, so I think the core of the actual handling has definitely been improved. I'm not going to say it's perfect, because for me, I'm not a huge fan of the handling. I know a lot of people are, but for me, I'm really not, which I will move on to in a second. But the handling is definitely improved from last game. But to be honest, last game couldn't have really had a more unrealistic or dull handling, in my opinion. But this is a lot more fun. It's a lot more sensitive. It's definitely more challenging, even though I do not feel it's the most challenging handling. I think there's two other games of 2013 and 2012 were more challenging, in my opinion, in handling. So it doesn't really necessarily show the true skill of players, I feel, in my opinion, because I do feel this game is pretty much just based on traction only, because trail braking is still evident. You still need to do it, but it's not essential, and you don't really need to do it to the absolute extreme, which you needed to do in other games. Because if you didn't do it in other games, you were pretty much a lost cause. You were not going to have any chance of really being competitive. But in this game, really don't need to do it. Traction is harder than last game, but again, once you do get used to it, and the weird style of how it feels, where you just pretty much have to go half throttle for most of the corner, once you get used to that, it's pretty simple really to get used to. As for the braking, again, it's not difficult, but it just feels weird to me. I can't really describe it, because some laps I brake in the same place, lap after lap, one lap I brake in the same place, the next lap I do the same, and the car just reacts differently. It's weird to me, and I've never really experienced anything like that, so it just feels quite inconsistent for me, pretty much. And in a way, the handling is definitely more realistic. It is what I could imagine probably the F1 cars could somewhat feel like. I know it's really still nothing like it, but it just feels quite artificial. I don't know if that's just me, if anyone else agrees with that, because I know a lot of people love the handling, but I'm not a huge fan, to be honest. But I still think it's a game that could relatively easy to pick up and play. And obviously, to get the really good results and the top times, and in league racing, the people who will do well, you do have to have that little bit something extra, mainly consistency. But to be fast really is not a really a difficult task, I think, in this game, is what I'm saying. But yeah, the benefits, the handling, the way it runs smooth, the smoothness of the actual gameplay itself, but that was really to be expected of it being next gen. But the downsides, obviously, of the bugs, just the amount of bugs, in my opinion, I feel I've been kind of disrespected, because I feel this game has not been tested really at all, to be honest. I don't know how they've tested it, unless they just tested it in the office with a couple of people next to them or whatever, or if they didn't test it at all online, or if they just did it on LAN, which I think would be absolutely ridiculous if that was the case. I just feel quite disrespected, because the game clearly is not a finished article, and even though the core dynamics of the game, I think I've definitely got potential, and they made a good stepping stone, I feel, in my opinion. The game is just not finished, and even with career mode and other stuff, I'm not really talking about the bugs and glitches, because I really don't need to at this point, because everyone knows exactly what I like for myself. You don't need me to talk about it. The game just doesn't feel finished. It just feels very, very restricted. There's nothing really you can do with it apart from Charm Trial and pretty much career mode, and even in that, there's no R&D, there's no contract. Yeah, there's nice fancy animations, and that's how I feel really of this game. I think they put in so much time to make the game look good rather than the game actually be good, and that's how I feel. And I do feel quite disrespected of how they've taken that approach, especially with the features of the multiplayer, how they've done that and taken out the sprint mode. I know there still is kind of a sprint mode, but the way they've done it is just not great. You can't find good lobbies, and obviously the online netcode, which is meant to be rewritten, I don't really believe that for a second. And if it is rewritten, they need to rewrite it again, because it's ridiculous. But moving on to the actual league racing part of itself, do I feel that league racing can survive and relish in this game? At this point, no, I really don't. And you'll be able to see a clip that should come up on your screen as I'm talking now. This is from Jack575, who's a really good friend of mine, fellow league racer as well, which I'm sure you know, extremely fast guy. He helped provide me this footage, so if you haven't subscribed to his channel, he makes really funny creative F1 videos, obviously with his league races and tips that he does, the same as me as well. If you haven't subscribed to him, please subscribe to him already, because he's a really, really good guy. But yeah, he helped supply this footage, which you probably may have already seen on his channel if you're subscribed to him. And this is the reason, really, like, even though the handling is good, I think going to wheel is extremely difficult because of the sensitivity, especially for pad users. You could see in this gameplay here, I was being quite smooth, and other good drivers as well who are used to this are quite smooth as well. But going wheel to wheel, just with how the pad and the snap action, it is going to be extremely difficult, and it's got to take both drivers to be very, very respectful of each other in order to work. And I just can't really see that happening. The contact model is, in my opinion, not great. If you hit someone, it's pretty much like a pinball effect. The damage model is, I don't even know if there is a damage model really, to be honest. Obviously, the no safety car there as well, that's quite a big thing in league racing. It really spices up the racing, and as much as I hated it at times, not having a safety car in, it's not good at all. And the biggest thing, which you'll be able to see throughout this footage now at Jack supplied, the corner cutting is absolutely horrific, and I'm sorry, no matter what patch they do, if they fix the majority of it, you can't patch that, and you can't really change the core dynamics of a game on the penalty system that they've done. And there doesn't really seem to be a penalty system, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm the cleanest guy in the world, because I'm not. I'm nowhere near the cleanest guy in the world. But just this, I know people don't cut corners deliberately. 99% of people I race against who have cut corners, I know they don't do it deliberately, because I don't do it deliberately. I know what it's like when you're pushing the limits of the track. You're on a really, really hot lap, you're in a really good rhythm, and it's very, very difficult to see if you're going across the line, not until you've actually looked back at your footage. But in the heat of the moment, it is very, very difficult and almost impossible. And with the game being like this, it's going to just create such an unfair advantage for people who don't record, or people who do record, sorry. But the people who don't record, and I'm not saying they're doing it deliberately, as I said, but if those kind of people are going to be pushing the limits, and obviously they're very skilled themselves, it's, in my opinion, extremely unfair, and it just shouldn't be happening at all. And it's just going to create a lot of controversy, a lot of incidents, a lot of arguments. And even without the corner cutting thing, in my opinion, this game, I still feel just how the tyres react as well, the equal cars, that needs to be fixed. in my opinion, it can't really be sustained. So my thought was of really going back to 2013, because I know the game is guaranteed to be good. I know a lot of people were thinking, how could you go back to that? But it's going to be good. You know, the netcode is pretty good as well. The racing's going to be good. The highlights will be back. It's, in my opinion, I would happily go back to that game. I'm not saying that's what should happen, but in my opinion, or for me, that's what I would love to go back to that game, because this game, I feel really, currently at the moment, even with no patch or not, I really don't think it can really sustain itself. So I just want to hear what you guys think, because I'm really interested as always. If you agree with me, support this video. If you don't, let me know. What would you recommend? I just want to hear what you guys think. As always, cheers for supporting my videos, and see you next time. Cheers.